Yeah,
Nice.
I have a mathematical gift. I didn't do very well in math academically, though, because I couldn't prove how I got to where I was. I just knew it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
You never know what's going to happen when. And I was very blessed to be in the right place at the right time. If I was out on my bike somewhere or even in my office, we would probably not be having this conversation. And that event was the impetus to indicate kind of God speaking to me, son, life is short.
That's right.
If you want to get on with things, there's no better time than the present to get serious about it.
No, you're
that
right.
was the encouragement. And I said, I feel like I'm in the wilderness, just kind of lost, really leaning on God. And he looked at me, he said, it's where God wants you to be. Realizing God puts us into situations not to harm us, but to educate us, to build us. And if I'm turning to God, he's got me where he wants me to be. And how are you doing?
Oh man, I'm great. I'm great. Hey, listen, Kurt, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule today to join us on the show. I want to welcome you to Well to Lead, and we are excited today to learn a lot more about Kirk and what it is that you do. So let's just dive.
I'm excited to be here. As I tell many people, I'm excited to be anywhere.
I got you, man. I'm with you on that. Well, listen, we got a lot of terrain to cover here today, Kirk, and in the limited amount of time that I have to talk with you today. So I want us to go ahead and dive straight in. I've already given our audience just a general overview about you. But what I'd like to do before we get started is for you just to tell us your story, kind of give us I guess a 360 of Kirk and kind of how you have evolved to be who you are today.
Well, I'll start from the present, Bobby, and maybe work my way back, and I'll do it as expeditiously as I can. I'm defined by several things: Christ follower, person of faith, my husband, father, grandfather, and then there are the things that I do. I'm a coach. I'm an executive career and life coach. I have worked for ESPN in addition to that for a long, long time. I'm a talent statistician. And what that basically means in a nutshell is handing data off to the broadcasters during the course of a sporting event so that it enhances the broadcast quality. I'm a spinning instructor. Spinning is cycling. So I get compensated to go into class. I had one this morning at 6 a.m. and basically yell at people to cause them to exert themselves to an even higher degree than they would ordinarily. We call it encouragement. And then I'm an author. I came out with a book last year, Thoughts from My Kids and Other People's Kids. It's a series of observations about leadership, about communications, about working effectively with others. There are a few sports stories that are thrown in and some scriptural references, of course, in there as well. So that is me. I'm 68 years old, native Texan. Lived there for the first 2/3 of my life. Had a job opportunity in St. Louis, and that took us to the Midwest in 2001. And we stayed there for 16 years. During that time, we discovered Northwest Florida and decided this is where we want to plant ourselves. So that's where we reside, about a half a mile from the Gulf of Mexico, between Destin and Panama City Beach, for those who may or may not be familiar with the geography.
Nice. So listen, the first thing I want us to dive into that I really couldn't wait to talk about is I really want you to talk more about the ESPN, and how did that come about, right? So it sounds like that you might have been involved in, I guess, would that be considered post production work with ESPN, or what exactly is your role with them?
It's live production work. First of all, how I got into it. I was an athlete, but as with many of us, my athletic limitations hit a ceiling. So I still enjoyed sports and do to this day, of course, because I work in it. But what would be a role that I could continue to have in it? One of my roommates in college was a broadcast communications major. I developed a strong relationship, friendship with him, and he did quite well in his career. So he had an opportunity to begin broadcasting college football games. This was back in 1989. He needed somebody to assist him from the statistical standpoint. That's always been a gift, a talent that I've had. So I not only carried his bags, but I handed him data throughout the course of football games, basketball games. We transitioned over to ESPN in 1996. We were part of the first football broadcast crew as that network came onto the scene. And that seems hard to believe. It's been 30 years since the launch of ESPN2 because we have so many ESPNs now. He has moved on. I continue to work in that capacity with a number of different talent people. And so I do college and NFL football. I do college basketball, men and women's. I do baseball at the college level, softball, and in fact, just got back from Eugene, Oregon a couple of days ago, working a softball event out there in the Pacific Northwest. So it is a
Okay.
dream job.
Yeah.
I pinch myself. I've been doing this for a long, long time, and I still love it. It's still fresh, having the access to these events that take place, but getting to work with the tremendous talent that I do, and that I play a role in that by feeding them data, mostly from a statistical standpoint, designed to enhance the broadcast quality.
Wow. So as we're watching, these shows like ESPN and other shows, right? And they're just polished. I mean, you look at the shows and you really see a great product, but there's a lot of work that goes into producing a show. It's not like they just come on there. The I guess if you have the sports announcers on there and stuff, they don't just come on there and just start ripping, off the cuff. They have data analytics, things like that that they're already kind of prepared to discuss. So can you tell us about, like, you know, with your particular job there, what is it that you do, and how do you make or enhance the talent to be able to do their job more effectively by giving them the data? Can you maybe speak more about to the production side of it behind the scenes?
First of all, the talent. They have talent, but then there's a tremendous amount of preparation that goes into an event. What has happened in the past? What are we looking at historically? What might we anticipate for the future? What are going to be the trends, the tendencies? So there's a lot of data that's produced by the organizations, by the schools, a lot of study of that information, meetings with coaches, talking with players in some instances, and gathering a lot of background information as well. My role focuses in on the numerical end of things. Simple stuff. How many games have they won in a row versus this opponent, if that is a pertinent statistic? What is the tendency against this team? How do they do against a squad that slows the offense down, let's say in basketball? But all these done from the standpoint of preparing me going into that broadcast to feed data. To kind of give you an example, did softball again this past weekend. And one of the things that was very significant in that broadcast is the pitcher for one of the teams. Oregon was playing Liberty, threw like 60 pitches over the first 3 innings. The next 3 innings, just 26 pitches. That's significant because the broadcasters can pick up on that and say she is picking up steam as the game goes along. That's evident. She's getting ahead in the count on the batters, and consequently, it was the Oregon pitcher. She retired like 20 batters in a row at one point during the game, and that speaks to the domination that happened in the second game of the series we had out there. So helping to build a storyline that's going to be interesting to those who are listening or watching at home. That's what I seek to achieve.
So that's interesting. So what I mean, you're dealing with stats, right? So is that I mean, you enjoy your job. It sounds like you really are passionate about it. I guess was math something that you always kind of like because it sounds like you're dealing with math a lot, right? Is that something that you always kind of had an affection for, so to speak?
I discovered sports when I was probably about 9 or 10, playing
Uh-huh.
basketball. I was a hoopster. Um, but the component of it that really fascinated me was the numbers. He's averaging 14 points a game.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
when I was a kid, we didn't have Texas Instrument calculators.
Hmm.
So what I had to do was longhand division. And I have a talent or a gift, it's a God given gift for numbers. I think numerically, analytically, logically. And so what I started doing was memorizing these differential equations so that I knew if let's say in baseball, somebody was 4 of 18. I knew in
Hmm.
my mind that was 222 as far as a batting average. I knew that if he got a hit in the next at bat, he was going to go to 263. If he would be 5 for 19. If he didn't get a hit, then he was going to fall down to about 211. And so these things just kind of became ingrained in my mind. When I met my broadcast communication major, he would do the broadcast and I would spit these things out. So we teamed up.
Oh,
So in
nice,
answer to your question, yeah,
nice.
I have a mathematical gift. I didn't do very well in math academically though, because I couldn't prove how I got to where I was. I just knew it.
Really?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah.
Oh gosh. So that they and I'm glad you mentioned that, Kurt, because what that shows us is that there are many layers to sports, right? I think sometimes when we think about the arena of sports, we just think about the athletes and just what they do, but there's so many other components to sports that requires people with other skill sets and gifts. Like having a guy like yourself that's good at stats and numbers and stuff, right? To be able to kind of help spew things off. So you had mentioned that you were that you played sports, right? Was it did you say you
I,
played
I
sports?
played high school basketball. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So how was it when you were playing sports? Did you enjoy playing sports more than doing what you're doing right now for sports?
I loved playing sports, and I still go out and cycle. I've got a big cycling event coming up this next week, as a matter of fact. So I like the competition sort of within myself. Am I going to be able to achieve this number? I don't compete so much against others, but even when I was an athlete, I was still fascinated with the statistical angle of things, and I would analyze and split things up numerically as I was going through the process. And what was my average now, and what was it going to dip down to when I didn't score in this game, and various things like that. So I would say this: I love to play when I was more limber and able to do that, but I also love the out of sports side of it, the analytics and the richness of the stories now that go along with that as
I
well.
got you. I got you. That makes sense. So spinning class. What? Tell me about that. What is that? Is that like the cycling that you see in the gym, like the studio cycling?
Yeah, it evolved into Peloton, so
Oh, okay.
that's our competition, I guess, or we're their
Yeah.
competition. Soul Cycle up in New York has gotten huge, and you see a lot about that. But it's similar to that. We're on stationary bikes, those that are participating, and we're attempting to replicate a ride using various tension on the 45-pound flywheel that we're propelling while we're cycling. And then we'll add gear to maybe mimic a hill climb, slowing the speed down, but putting a lot of stress on our hamstrings and quads as we climb. So it's both aerobic and anaerobic exercise for about 55, 60 minutes. And there's music that's in the background, some choreography. I love music,
Yeah,
and my
yeah,
music tends to be very eclectic.
yeah.
And the participants will say, "Where did you get that from?" And just something I remembered. I thought it might work here. And they won't ever
Uh,
say it's good. They will say it's interesting.
Interesting. I got you. So, so listen, you and I had talked a little bit about this before we started, and I want us to maybe kind of segue into this. I know that there was a pivotal point in your life that happened relative to health. Now, what we do here, obviously at the Well to Lead podcast, is we highlight these areas. Two areas is one is wellness, and the other is, of course, leadership, because we believe that to be an effective leader, you need wellness. I mean, to operate, at a high level, and so we know wellness is important. And what I wanted to find out from you today is perhaps you can share a little bit more of the story about the event that changed it all for you. This health event. Maybe you can dive into that a little bit for us today.
Well, the good story would be if I could say I achieved a tremendous increase in health stamina, or I lost a lot of weight, or I began an exercise regimen. That wasn't the case at all. I
Mm,
was a spinning instructor. I had maintained conditioning. I weigh more than I did in high school, but overall, I'm in good physical condition and always have been. So I was working at the gym. Good place to be if you suffer a health event, because those of us that lead exercise classes or train, we're all CPR AED certified. So this was on a Friday afternoon back in 2014. I was scheduled to go work an event for ESPN that weekend, so I was getting a last workout in before I hopped in a plane. When all of a sudden the world went black, I was doing a lateral pull down after I'd done a cardio workout, and the next thing I knew, there was an oxygen mask on my face with me being asked by paramedics and EMT, "What's your name? What's your date of birth? Where are you? What's today?" Various questions along those lines. So I got pulled out on a stretcher as everybody is looking and saying, "Isn't he the spinning instructor?" It was on a Friday, so we faced the weekend. Needless to say, I was canceled out for my event that weekend. And with the technicians being gone again for the weekend, it was the following Monday that I was examined, and it was determined that I had three arterial blockages, and was scheduled the next day for triple bypass surgery, as it turned
wow.
out.
Wow.
That wasn't that wasn't supposed to happen to me, and so there was a part of me that was kind of mad about that, a little bit angry, but there was also this sense of let's get it done and let's move on. So people ask, "Were you scared? Were you apprehensive?" No, I wasn't, because I was already looking past the surgery to what was going to come next. So the surgery took place on a Tuesday. My wife was down here in Florida at the time. I was in St. Louis. She frantically raced home. It was a lot of stress for her at that time, but the surgery was successful, triple bypass, and went home several days later. It was a few days after that that I'm already starting to get bored. I want to get up. I want to move around. I'm feeling
Mm.
pretty good. And I could almost feel a little bit of depression start to set in. Like, what is this life going to be like? I was 56, 57 at the time. And I don't want to become an old man right now. So I kind of did some self talk to myself and said, I'm going to endeavor to not only get back to what I was doing before, but to try to do it at as high, if not a higher level, particularly now that I've got these clean arteries that are operating. So the bottom line, I was back working out 5 weeks post-op. I was back teaching spinning classes 7 weeks after that. And the following year, this was late in the year when that occurred, doing cycling events. So the lesson for me through that, one, keep moving.
Yep.
Um, don't let yourself get stifled by events that may happen with you. But also, I was at a point in time when I was contemplating transitioning from my career of 35 years in human resources to actually going into coaching. And that event was the impetus to indicate kind of God speaking to me, son, life is short.
That's right.
If you want to get on with things, there's no better time than the present to get serious
Amen.
about it.
Now
So
you're right.
that was the encouragement.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. Let me go back a bit, Kurt, on this. Now, you're doing the spin class. You're I mean, this is, obviously it sounds like you were, you mentioned that you were already, pretty much fit. You didn't have any indicators or anything that kind of tipped you off beforehand that something like this would occur or might occur? Was there anything that you were feeling prior to this happening?
Here's the scary thing, not a thing at all. And
Wow, really?
and when the event occurred, technically a heart attack, there was no pain. It was just immediately I fainted, the world was black. Never felt pain.
Wow.
And so you never know what's going to happen when. And I was very blessed to be in the right place at the right time. If I was out on my bike somewhere or even in my office, we would probably not be having this conversation now. It was the classic, as they call it, widowmaker.
Really? Wow. Man, that's powerful. So the you mentioned something about looking past the event when you were going through this, right? You was like, okay, we gotta deal with this problem. It's here. Um, you know, you didn't experience or did you feel during that transition? Did you feel any type of I guess anger about being in that position? Because you mentioned about looking past it, which I thought was incredible. You were looking about, okay, let's get the surgery done and let's just move on past this so we can get back to doing what it is that we do. But while you were in the hospital going through this, what were you dealing with there as you was experiencing this?
There was anger. This shouldn't happen to me. Uh, I was childish in some ways, I'll admit that. Pouty when my wife got there. This shouldn't happen to me.
Hmm.
Um, but put your big boy pants on was
Right.
eventually the encouragement that I felt internally and spiritually from God. And you take it one step at a time. Stick with me, buddy. We're going to get you there to where you need to be. And what I found is afterwards, my stamina actually improved with those cleaned arteries. Um, there were certain things that I was not able to do quite as well. In other words, it took me a little bit longer to get up to speed during a workout. Instead of warming up in about 2 or 3 minutes, it was more like 5 or 6 minutes to get to where I wanted my heart rate to be. But once it got there, I felt better.
Gotcha. What recommendations would you give someone in our audience who maybe a different situation, but it could be a health related situation that they went through that happened unexpectedly? and now they're obviously dealing with it, and they're trying to come out on the other side. Because you mentioned something about feeling, depressed even after you had, went through everything. So you were kind of feeling a little depressed about your situation. How did you deal with that depression, and what would you recommend to people who may be dealing with depression from some type of event unexpectedly that may have happened to them like that?
I've dealt with clinical depression many years before that.
Okay.
I did not enjoy going through that process as well at all. Kids were young. Um, it has some elements of PTS to it to some degree. It's not the extent of what people who have maybe been in war or experienced that kind of trauma go through, but there are some elements of that. But one of the things that I came through in that prior experience that I applied um, later after I had my cardiac event was a friend of mine in a small group um, got me aligned with a counselor. And he said, I want you to meet with this guy. I think he's going to say some things that may really resonate with you. He has a way of doing that. Okay. And he paid for it, which is
Mm,
even better. I felt lost. I felt alone. I just didn't have good feelings about myself at that point in time. But I was also in a period when I was really reaching out spiritually for God. God, help me, get
right.
me through this. Take this pain away. Take this burden off of me. It's too much for me to handle. So the guy I met with, he asked me to describe what I was going through, and I mentioned that to him. And I said, I feel like I'm in the wilderness, just kind of lost, really leaning on God. And he looked at me, he said, that's where God wants you to be.
Mm, mm.
And I would want to say that changed things immediately. It didn't, but for 30 years since then, it's been changing things.
Wow. Wow.
Realizing God puts us into situations not to harm us, but to educate us, to build
That's right.
us,
That's right.
to bring us to a different level. And so that experience applied 20 years later to the cardiac event that I had and still does to this day when things are getting a little bit mopey or depressed. What can be learned from what I'm going through right now? And if I'm turning to God, He's got me where He wants me to be.
That's right. I love it. I love it. Man, what great encouragement for our listener audience. And I really appreciate you being candid about your experience and opening up about sharing about not just the physical aspect of what you went through, but the emotional toll that experience was taking on you and how you transition out of it. So I guess for those that are listening, it's important that when things like that, like that happen unexpectedly, to if you can seek out sound counsel and obviously you have a relationship with the Lord and God helped to transition you through it. And I believe that everything that He allows to happen, it happens for a reason, and that only God can work things like that, things that happen to us that we dislike, things that are unpleasant, that He has the ability to even work those things to our good. And so we are reaping now the benefits of your experience that happened to you, because I'm learning. I'm even sensing some of the emotions that you probably went through when you was dealing with that. And so we're just grateful, man, that you were able to share that, and that obviously that you got through it. And just to encourage our audience that no matter what you're facing, God is there to help see you through it. And so you come out on the other side of this, you're back to normal, right? I guess, or in your words, you seem to feel better than you was, coming out on the other side. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know that I have a normal, and people
Yeah.
that know me would probably strongly disagree with that.
Yeah.
But I'm back to who I am.
Uh,
But hopefully, becoming a better version
I got
of
you. I love
who
it.
I was meant to be, stripping away a few of those limiting beliefs, but propelling myself towards coaching, which with some of these experiences, I may not be sitting here telling that story and have had
Yeah.
the encounters with the many people I've had the privilege and honor to get to work with.
Wow.
Here in my
And
60s, this
yeah.
this is the best part of life. I'm enjoying it. It's fun.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Kurt. You know, a lot of times people think that once you hit 50, man, they like, all right, man, it's down here from there. But I got to tell you, I mean, I know a little bit about your story and how things started for you when you passed 50, right? For me, it was the same way. My life was reinvented, so to speak, after 50. I mean, when I hit 53, you know, I went through this health transformation, and I went through this health transformation and lost 100 pounds, came out on the other side, and you know, and God has just He has just done. I mean, He's allowed me to really transition from, and it's amazing how you talked about your bad experience, right? The hard situation, the things that you went through. That was a bad situation. My health situation was bad. And it's amazing how, you know, there's good that can come out of a bad situation. Because for me, I didn't really start living my best life until after 50, I feel. A lot of the things that I'm doing now in terms of walking in my purpose, and it happened after 50. So, you know, for those who feel like that life is going downhill once you hit 50 and you start getting older, that's not true. It's not true, because I think for me, I don't know about you, Kirk, but for me, I'm a bit more wiser at 50, and I think that, and I thank God for not giving me some of the things that I wouldn't have been able to handle earlier on, because I didn't have the wisdom, you know, that comes with living. So, but yeah, and it sounds like to me that the same thing for you. I mean, you began to really, you reinvented yourself. You kind of went into this new level, but it all happened after 50. Tell us more about that. The coaching, right? You got into coaching as a result of this, right?
I absolutely love coaching. And people will ask me, I didn't really start till I was 60, not even 50, but 60.
Wow.
And people ask me, do you wish you would have done it earlier? And instantly I say, yes, but then I take a step back and realize I wasn't ready for it yet. I needed to gain some more of this wisdom that Bobby you spoke of just a moment ago. After that heart episode, I still worked in my position for a couple of years, and in that 2 year period, it was the worst period of time in my career. We had a leader in the organization who was not practicing his leadership principles ethically. It was affecting the morale of the entire organization. I was quite involved in ethics in the position that I was in, and it was demoralizing to preach to the choir, but top level leadership was not practicing what it preached.
Was
And
this
it got
HR? Was this in the HR field?
this was in the HR
Okay.
field,
Okay.
and got so bad that I felt that I was targeted for retaliation, and it was just a period of time. I God spoke to me and said, if you can hang in here for a couple of years, I'm going to deliver you, but you're going to have to hang in there. And
Right.
I would count the days and the hours to that magical date that was into the future.
Yeah.
But he got me to the end. I walked off into the sunset, and the vindication came from after I departed a couple of years later. Several in that organization were indicted on criminal charges,
Wow.
and there were some jail time served
Wow.
among some of those folks as well.
Mm.
So I have that experience, and I refer to it in the book that I wrote last year as further education that I needed. And that has been so helpful with some of the clients I've worked with who come out of toxic work environments
Hmm.
themselves. And how do I deal with this? And to have the opportunity to walk through that with them, some of them, oddly enough, coming from faith based organizations where this
Really?
has taken place. And so they get to wondering, God, what are you doing with me in your church here? But evil is everywhere. Satan
That's right.
wants to get his hands into that, and what better place than a faith-based organization to dig my heels in and create chaos?
Hmm.
So I realize why I had to go through that period of time. Hated it, but it was, as it turned out, necessary.
Wow. That's incredible. So really the experiences, the life experiences and personal experiences you went through kind of prepared you for this season of life that you're in right now and has perhaps made you a much more effective coach. Now, can you tell us a little bit more about the difference between what a coach does and a counselor? What's the difference between the two? Because I think perhaps maybe there may be some questions that folks have about what's the difference? How do I know I need a coach versus a counselor?
That's a great question, Bobby, and I'm glad you asked it. We are all kind of part of that same fraternity: coaches, counselors, therapists, psychologists. The biggest distinction is that aside from coaching, the others are focused on maybe past behavior, what's happened in a family of origin, trauma that's taken place, and how we go about dealing with that in order to be healthier for the future. And I commend counselors. I've used them at rough points in my own life, and they've been extremely helpful for me digging up some of these things that I need to wrestle with and get a hold of. Coaches are future oriented. We deal basically with the whole person. I mean, we've all got problems, but they have a specific goal. I need help with my career. I'm unhappy with my job. Help me to get a new one. Help me to deal with financial management, let's say, one aspect of life. So it's sort of like, and I use the metaphor of Wayne Gretzky in hockey. The reason he was so good at hockey, he intuitively knew where the
The
puck was
puck was
going to
going.
be
Yeah.
and he skated to it.
Yeah.
Likewise, the clients I work with are typically very intelligent people. They know what they want, but it's stuck in the recesses of their mind. They need someone to help them dig that out and have that breakthrough aha moment of, one, I knew that, I just hadn't acted on it before. Or this is a dream or an ambition that I've had since a long time ago. I want to go out and fulfill that now because that's my gift. So, as a coach, once that's identified, we work alongside individuals to hold them accountable. Have you accomplished this? Have you made a contact with this individual that you said you're going to make a contact with? Have you contacted this organization about this job opportunity that's there? And help with some skills related to that, such as how do I brand myself more effectively? How do I network in a way that's going to bring me results? So, those are some distinctions between coaches and counselors. Another big thing: coaches don't give advice, because I'll have
Mm.
people that ask me, what do you think I should do? And I'll answer rhetorically, what do you think you should do? And,
Because the
or
answer's inside. The answer is
that's
always
right.
inside. Yeah.
One of the ones I love is I'll ask them a question. So, what are you going to do with this?
Right.
I don't know, is the response. And so,
Mhm.
what I'll ask them sometimes is, if you did know, what would be your response? So,
Mhm.
we dig, we push, just like a coach,
Mhm.
because we've got a talent there. And the name of my business is the Seed Sower Coach. I'm looking to nourish these seeds, help them to grow, give them the nutrition so
Right.
that they can prosper and grow beyond what they think is possible.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And I was about to ask you, Kurt, how did you come up with that name? Was there any inspiration behind that? Tell us about the name again.
Well, there's the parable of the seed sower,
Okay.
one, and similar to that story that I just told. But also, I'm an avid gardener. I love planting seeds. I love watching them grow. So it was just a natural moniker for me to come up with
Yeah.
as far
Yeah,
as
I love that name.
what
Yeah.
the name of the business is going to be.
Yeah, yeah, that's good stuff, man. So listen, how would you just, because, and I guess, when I was thinking about the coaching aspect of this, I know that personally, I run into a lot of folks that have dreams and aspirations, and there always seems to be two areas that I see that I often try to encourage as best I can when talking to people that I find that are hindering them. And the two areas that I see mostly are just self-imposed limitations and fear. So if you have someone that come to you that need coaching, they don't need counseling, they need coaching. They're trying to push past what they're dealing with and move forward into the future with this thing, with this passion, this dream. Let's say it's a business that they've been trying to start, or had the aspirations of starting, and it's just this passion for this business they've been trying to do for a number of years, but they just never took the first steps to getting out of the boat, so to speak. How do you deal with clients that may come to you that may be dealing with self-imposed limitations and maybe fear?
There is a significant correlation between fear and anger. And so
Mm.
I mentioned that heart event I had. I was
Hmm.
angry. Deep down inside, I was probably a little bit afraid.
Wow.
Am I fixing to become an old man right now, for instance? Am I going to be limited in what I can do physically? Um, my overcoming that was the resolution that I'm going to look past that and have a goal to become better, as good, if not better, than I was before physically. So, there's that aspect that goes with it. From the standpoint of the limiting beliefs, as far as I've got this dream, I've had this dream for a long time, I haven't acted upon it. I use myself as an example. I would have loved to have played in the NBA, but
Right.
my talent wasn't going to
Yeah,
take me
talent
there.
was.
But while NBA players of my generation are now long retired and
Right.
probably retired from coaching, I'm still working in sports.
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
to go do
That's
talent
right.
statistician.
That's right.
So look at what your dream or interest may be and what modification may still keep you in doing that. Let's say
Gotcha.
somebody is an artist. They've got an artistic bent, but of course they've got a ceiling. I'm not going to go that far just on my own painting. I will definitely be a starving artist. Maybe there's an opportunity to work in a gallery.
Right.
Maybe there's the opportunity to work with heirlooms and archives of some kind. So things that correlate to that, they keep you in your area of interest, but it's still in your area of interest. So as a coach, we work on examining a broader playing field. Okay, what does this interest in such and your talent and skill, how big can that be? What might it include? And especially in career coaching. I was talking to somebody about that same subject the other day. They had been in one particular bandwidth of work. Well, what about this that incorporates some of the same skills and
Right.
abilities used here that may transfer well? How would you
Right.
go about doing that?
No, that's awesome, man. I like what you said about just expanding that playing field because the the limitations sometimes that we impose on ourselves is because we have like in your case, you said, hey, you would have loved to been an NBA star or loved to played sports at a high level. But sports was something you always had an interest in. And so you just looked at another way to, I guess, engage in your passion outside of just that one area. And so I guess it's really important, and this is why coaching is so great, is that you help folks to be able to see beyond whatever that limitation may be and to expand their horizon, so to speak. Because there are more things that you can do, and that's really that's good stuff, Kurt. Actually, I think for some people they kind of give up on their dreams altogether because it didn't happen the way that they had anticipated, not knowing that there may be other areas that they could still have engagement in that could produce a sense of fulfillment. So how would and if some of the folks wanted to reach out and talk to you about coaching, what's the process? Do you offer like a free consultation? Maybe tell us a little bit about that.
I've got a website that's out there. It's the seedsowercoach.com, and there is a mechanism for contacting me through that if you go to the website. But if someone is interested in learning a little bit about coaching before they getting their feet wet before they dive full in, I do offer an introductory no obligation first meeting where we basically get to know each other. Tell me your story. Tell me what you want now. What would be success for you in terms of the endeavor that you're contemplating or what you may be contemplating? How can I help? And then I talk to them a little bit about what coaching is. We'll talk about contractual arrangements, financing, different things along those lines. And then I'll send a proposal if there's interest for them to contemplate and decide if they want to contract with me. So I love those preliminary processes
Yeah,
because people will tell me a lot,
get to
and
learn a lot. Yeah, yeah.
I get excited about that.
That's good stuff. So you told me you wrote a book. What's the title of the book again? And maybe give us some just some general overview about a few leadership principles that may be lodged in that book.
When I launched my coaching business, I set up a website, and so I'm going to do some blogs. And so I started that 8.5 years ago. And so I had a few blogs. I made a contact with our local paper here and asked if there might be opportunity to include a section on leadership and communications, coaching in that bandwidth. He also knew I had the sports background, so he wanted some sports stories as well. So he gave me that framework in order to do that. So this was monthly. So these blogs just started gathering up, and I've got a ton of them now, and I got to do something with them. I got this sense. The publisher told me, Kirk, you ought to write a book. Okay. And then I started researching it, and I read like over 80% of people have a desire to write a book, but only 3%, less than 3% actually ever execute that. Bobby, I've never been top 3% in anything. So here's my opportunity.
I hear you.
I'm gonna write a book. So I did. It's there it is. It's
Oh, nice, nice.
thoughts for my kids and other people's kids. It's a collection of vignettes on keys to success, but it covers leadership, communications, observations that I have made on what has made people successful or not so successful. There will
Gotcha,
be some
gotcha.
sports stories that are in there, but it's primarily geared towards Z's and millennials. And yeah, the inspiration for me was when I was in my 20s and 30s. I wish there would have been a book like that I could have picked up that would have some things that I could thumb to that might have application to what I was experiencing at that time. So it can be read in its entirety, or there may be a particular subject in there that is going to be pertinent to what somebody is dealing with at that point in time. So that's the intent. The inspiration of the title. I've got two kids. It's thoughts for them, but it's thoughts for all of us because we're all somebody's kids.
That's
So
right. That's right.
kids from 4 to 84, there's something in there for you, but it's available at through your bookstores or out on Amazon.
Oh, awesome, awesome, Kirk. Man, I appreciate that. That's another catchy title right there too. I like that title. Um, so just in closing and us wrapping up, because you really given us a lot of great information and just encouragement today, Kurt. But I always like to end the show with just some parting words of wisdom from you. If you're speaking to the audience, and what would you like for them to know that you feel may add value to their lives as they are facing challenges, ups and downs, and just trying to live life and do life? Perhaps you can give us some insight.
I like to keep moving. And so that four-letter word, move, is important. I think there's validity to that no matter where anybody is. I love the book about Admiral McRaney about making your bed first thing in the morning. And for some people, simple tasks like that can be difficult. But do one thing. That'll maybe lead to splashing some water on your face, brushing your teeth, getting up, reading a devotional. And through all these things, momentum is starting to be gathered, gained. And for people that are in a particularly dark spot, that can be very important. But for
Hmm.
any of us that feel like we're stuck, frozen, move, do something, contact someone. They may need to hear from you. It's not you needing to, "Well, I want to contact this person and network for a job." You may be a real blessing to them just to hear your voice.
That's right.
Um, it may be a case of volunteering at a food shelter, just that activity, and who knows who you're going to connect with there that may be helpful for you. So, getting out there, having a plan for each day, establishing your strategic plan, and something to aim for and follow. Move
Awesome.
is my
Awesome.
key word.
All right, man. I love it, man. Kirk, man, I tell you what, it's been a real pleasure having you on today. And again, man, I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and share with us, to not only share with us, but to encourage us through your stories, through your experiences. And for our listener audience, at the end of the video, you'll have access to ways that you can reach out to Kirk, ways that you can purchase his book and sign up for coaching sessions. And Kurt, again, man, I look, we got more questions, but we out of time. So it's not for the lack of questions, because I have more things that I would love to be able to ask you, but perhaps we'll maybe do another session, or maybe have you to come back where we can drill down a little bit more on some other things. But again, man, thank you so much for coming on, and much success to you, and thank God for you being a blessing.
And thank you for the blessing of allowing me to be on your podcast, Bobby. And more important than that, the privilege and honor of connecting with you as a new friend.
All right, sounds good, my friend. Listen, folks, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next week, you guys have a good rest of the day, and take care. Thank you.